So like your presentation, my.
Just like that. Now we align. Yeah. Okay, yeah, she just profile.
Not sure why it's because yesterday it was fine.
Is there a delay for you? There's no delay on his computer.
There's no delay on yours?
Yes.
Okay, then that's fine. We can proceed.
Please don't
Trip. No, it's not gonna
I'm not
move.
gonna move anyway.
Are you leaving?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys still live because
In case there's a technical problem.
right down there.
All right.
But I can stick around with things.
Okay, maybe
Should I
10
turn,
minutes.
where it says turn on the volume, should I do that?
Now, because that has made the screen to be the one to audio, because it's usually because the audio, it will then play feedback.
So. The meeting was that. There was something that was there which said
Must be the screen.
I turned on the no, but I turned on the volume something. Yeah, it's okay now.
Yeah.
They're saying they can't hear. Prof.
They can't hear him.
And the screen wasn't moving. Can you hear us now?
Yes.
You can hear us. My sincere apology. So I need to, I don't need to switch on my name. They can hear me. My sincere apology for a late start. Good afternoon once again, and welcome to this first webinar of a series that is called Growing the Next Generation of Leaders in Higher Education Institutions. I want to start off by introducing myself. I am Moses Chimbari. I am a research professor, honorary professor at UKZN. And I just want to, first of all, give you a sense of who I am and where I'm coming from. So my career starts way back in 1984 when I joined Home Affairs in Zimbabwe as a forensic technician, rising to a scientist. From that time, I moved through different institutions, which I will shortly show you until this time, where you see there 2021 to 2024, I was the Pro Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Research and Innovation at Great Zimbabwe University. And I left that portfolio in August. So I also want just to give you a sense so that you can have some comfort that you are speaking to the right person to talk about those things. So on my right there, what you see is just my citations for my publications. And I've just indicated that these citations, I want to believe that I'm actually confident that in 2025, the citations will surpass those for 2024, meaning that I'm still a very active researcher. I am a C2 rated scientist who is waiting for a regret. But in terms of the students that have graduated in my career, there are 32 of them as listed there. I have 7 that I believe who are on the track to be completing their studies this year, meaning that by the end of 2025, I would have graduated successfully 39 PhD students. I also have got new students that I've just recruited, 3 of them, and they will be joining the others. So I've also had in the past a number of postdoctoral fellows that I was mentoring, and those actually are listed on the far right, 18 of them. In Zimbabwe, I've given examples. Almost every big university in Zimbabwe has got one of my students or my former students. That's why I've said in each of those universities, I've got an ambassador sitting there. But I do have students that have also graduated who are staying in South Africa, Zambia, Tanzania, Kenya, Nigeria, Botswana, Lesotho, Swaziland, UK, DRC. I might have missed some, but in each of those countries, I've got either a postdoctoral fellow or somebody who is still active. So I want to pay homage to the 6 institutions that I've worked in my career, 6 institutions in 3 countries, and also to all of you who are logged in today to listen to this introductory webinar. So I have worked at the Blair Research Laboratory. That was after my forensic science assignment. The ones I put in here are relevant to what we are talking about today, meaning that they are institutions of research and institutions of higher education. They are all linked to a university. So I moved on to University of Zimbabwe, also went to National University of Science and Technology, Zimbabwe, and then moved to University of Botswana at the Okavango Research Institute. It ended up at University of KwaZulu-Natal. When I left University of KwaZulu-Natal, I went back to Zimbabwe to join the Great Zimbabwe University. So these universities have made me grow. And that's why I said I wanted to pay homage to them. I've had different experiences in each of them. So why are we talking about what we want to talk and what is it for? So the overall objective of the webinar series that I proposed is to contribute towards the preparation and growth of the next generation of competent leaders in higher education institutions in Africa. So the talking points for this particular webinar, because I called it a series, which means there are some that are going to come later. In this particular webinar, I'm going to be talking to these 4 points. Why these webinars? Why do we even talk about it? So I'll give that introduction. I will also want to, in this particular webinar, to give you a profile of academics that we found anywhere in the world in terms of them being academics and their relationship to leadership. I will then spend more time talking about my personal journey, not just as a story, but for each part of the journey, I'll try to highlight some of the lessons that I learned along the line, which I believe that the people who are logged in today, the medium in the early career academics can pick some notes from there and be able to reshape their journeys. I'll end with a slide that has got a shopping list of take-home messages. And note that these take-home messages are actually things that are derived from my presentation, things that are derived from my experiences. So it's not things that I've lifted somewhere and decided that I will just share with you. They are my personal experiences, and during question time, I'll be happy if you ask me some probing questions on that. So the subsequent sessions or webinars, I will be featuring eminent leaders from different universities and different countries. So by eminent leaders, I mean people who have been vice chancellors or deputy vice chancellors, or people who have been sitting in councils of universities as chairpersons. I already have a long list of people who have agreed to come and talk on my future webinars. The sessions will be also featuring aspiring leaders from different universities and different countries at varying stages of their journeys, which means we can bring in somebody who has just been appointed as a chairperson or a coordinator of a course or a dean or a director so that they can share their experiences for the benefit of others. I will also bring in panel discussions that feature university leaders at varying levels of their journeys. Instead of a one-way presentation, we can have actually a panel discussion, and we can also have a panel discussion on experiences of eminent university leaders who would have given keynote presentations. We can bring them back now and put them on the same table, maybe 4 or 5 of them, to have a discussion on a particular subject matter that could actually be decided by yourselves. So there will be solicitation for desired topics from yourselves. So after this webinar, I'll come back to you and ask you what things you would like to listen to in the future so that we can make these webinars living ones, which means we'll be responding to real issues. There will also be the requests to participate. You can actually come forth and say you have something important to share and you would like to be featured in the webinars, and we'll do that. We'll also, with others, try to do some interviews with different individuals that will post on different platforms for you to view and listen at convenient times to you. So that now tells us what the future is like, and I want now to get into what we are talking about today. So let's start right here. If you look at this diagram here, it shows you I've done my homework, try to check some websites don't give information, some people hide their ages, but I've got most of them. So vice chancellors in these countries that you see, South Africa, Germany, Zambia, Uganda, UK, USA, Australia, and Zimbabwe. I can say
Slides are visible. We can't see slides.
they can see slides.
That's what we said.
Can you see the slides there?
A lot of proposals.
It's a problem with Martin only. Everyone else can see them. Is it? Oh, okay.
Okay. So
Just to say you can see.
okay, all right. So sorry for that disruption. So looking at this slide that is there, we can fairly say that the average age of our vice chancellors currently is about 60 years old. So what does that mean? I also want to just show you this graph here, which tells us that, the age determines your productivity. So as you grow old, you get slow. That's normal. But where I said service period, I also want to qualify that service period, in my view, it's a period at the pinnacle of a university. If you're a vice chancellor, if you do 10 years, that, in my view, is the maximum productivity years that you can ever have. When you start getting to 15 and 20 years, there are no new ideas that you're going to bring. And this also applies even to positions of a dean, positions of a director. Your 5 years, you come with a lot of enthusiasm and you make a significant contribution. Another 5 years, you are just consolidating things. Thereafter, I think people just have to move on, or yourself, you must realize that you need to go to a new place. I need to emphasize that when you've done 10 years in one place, it doesn't mean that you cannot go to another institution and have another 5 years. Because we are going to a new environment, you'll go with new ideas. So you could still be active for 20 years, but in different institutions. So that's what this curve says. And it means that, when we look at that cutoff point that we put there is somewhere between 60 and 70 when we start saying age-wise, you are getting slow. So what it means when we look at the figure on the left, it tells you that in the next 10 years, all the sitting vice chancellors should have gone. It's not that we want them to go, but they should be replaced at that time. So that's about 70%. So what does it mean? It means we need a good replacement pipeline. And this is why I've decided to come up with these webinars. I thought I should spend a bit of time on that. Okay, moving on, let's look at the profile of academics in universities. So first of all, let me start off with what I call the leadership bar of experience. So when we join a university, we have no experience at all about running a university. We don't understand. We come in as a lecturer, we get tenured. But if after 10, 15 years, your experience is still like what I have on the left, which I've labeled as poor leadership bar, it means really you have not got any experience except the number of years you've stayed in that institution. But when we look at the one on the right, it means with time, from beginning to end, you widen your experience. It's not just the length of stay, it's now about how many times were you sitting in responsible positions. They may not be posts, but just sitting on a disciplinary hearing committee, sitting on a promotions committee, sitting on a selection panel. Those are the things that I'm talking about. They give you experience. After some 10 years, it should be wider than I've shown there. But let's look at, in a university, you have got what we call research and innovation professors, for lack of a better word. These are highly, qualified, experienced professors who are happy to be with their students and do their work. This group of people is not interested, at least most of them from my experience, they are not interested in administrative tasks. When you go to them and say, can you chair this selection panel, they think it's a pain. They don't want. And as leadership, you should realize that it's not their space. So those, again, they are few, they are highly productive, these people, and they are needed in a university. So when you look at the top there, at the top bar, you see that there would be a number of them in any particular university. Let's look at another one. You have got, university executive members. Here I'm talking about, people who could be bursars, people our CFOs, or people who could be librarians, people who could be registrars. So they start off very few. Why do they start off few? Because they want to gather experience. For you to become a registrar, you are not just an ordinary person. You have got a lot of experience that you've gathered. You've taken responsibilities. But then there are many people who go in that route. That's why that triangle is, the way it's looking. The competition is very high when it comes to those posts. When an advert gets out, you get many people in that space compared to the research and innovation professors. Let's look at the third one. The third one is what I call university CEOs. You can see if somebody has risen properly, there are very few, unless you change your standards. If, for instance, you say a good vice chancellor is somebody who has been in a position of executive leadership for the past 15 years, you don't get many people like that. Or if you say 20 years, you don't get many like that. That is why it is difficult to find an appropriate vice chancellor. But sometimes we have had a tendency of diluting that and then saying, well, if you have got 7 years, you're okay. Then you get many, but they may not be top quality. So if we are trying to grow the next generation of leaders, we need to grow top quality, which means within their career, we must have lots of people with 15 years experience in different levels of positions in a university that can now be competing for that post. So these are the three groups that I could see. So let's look at what I consider to be an ideal leadership pathway. How do you become a leader? just yesterday, I was listening at the news about the process that is going on in South Africa, interviews for deputy chief justice in the country. And one was taken to task for not having a good footprint. They said, well, we need to know you were a lawyer at what stage, you were probably a prosecutor, you then raised to get into a magistrate's court, you rose up to go to province, and now you come here to say you want to be the deputy chief justice. So that's a clear footprint. And according to them, anyone who just jumped from nowhere to get to the top, they didn't like such people because they say they don't have the requisite experience. I've given this example because I have mine for academics. So a proper rise of a person to leadership is you start off as a lecturer, you are somewhere coordinating a course, you can become a head of department, you can become a dean or an executive director, you can become a pro-vice chancellor or a deputy vice chancellor, and you can then become a vice chancellor. So you will have the good experience. Your personal attributes might let you down for the post, but at least you will understand how a university functions. And this is a generic one that I put. But take a look at what I'm showing you now. Throughout this journey, there is continuous academic growth. So if you have been sitting in all these departments and you are just sitting in as an administrator, you are not going to be a good vice chancellor. You must be a vice chancellor who is respected by academics. So it means in your life, when people Google you, they should find you. You can't say, now I'm a vice chancellor, you can't find me. Why can't you be found? So these are the people that want to grow. So here is my journey, entering a territorial leadership space at a tender age is what I did. So territorial, it means, people are protecting the space. They don't want people in there. So what happened, in that space? So I experienced a lot of being taken advantage of because of my naivety. So what happened is I was asked by my mentor, the late Stephen Chadwana, the professor there, and he gave me a lot of tasks to do things that others didn't do. But he then asked me to go and lead one of his institutions where somebody had overstayed for many years holding post. They were a placeholder, but they got so warmed up in holding the place that they thought they would never be replaced. And therefore, everyone who went to that institution was kicked out, either voluntarily or forcibly, because of the kind of support that they got. So I went there and I didn't realize the situation that was prevailing, and therefore I was taken advantage of. And what tended to happen was last minute letdowns. So you want to organize a course and the person knows that your strength is in this area, and they'll say, okay, I'm going to handle the other aspect so that we complement each other. Come that day, the person comes with a letter from a doctor and says, my blood pressure is high, so I won't be there. So you now have people who have come who have to be trained. So I learned very quickly that even if that person said he was going to handle it, I would also work on that. So when he dropped, I would just fill in the gap and thrive. And that was a good tactic at a very early age. And these are things that can also happen to you. So one of the things was to be sidelined from within and without. So for many years, people knew this person was the leader. So everyone who came to the office went to his office and deals were sealed and they left. While you are in your comfortable corner as the new person in charge. So things were happening, I didn't know, but also from within, I was not given all the information that I needed. So that was very tough. What did I learn from that? I learned about rules and regulations very fast. I also learned that I did not have the absolute institutional power I thought I had. So I could tell somebody because of my naivety and tender age that, look, I'm going to suspend you. And that person was more experienced than me. They knew I didn't have the power to suspend them. So they would quickly come to the office and say, can you suspend me now? I need my letter. So, I would fall into a trap. Right. So I learned later that no, I must read the rules. And that's the time that I started reading rules. And I want to emphasize that wherever you are, you must know the rules and the institutional powers that you do have. I also learned to do the right thing if that has to be done. And it was a protracted process. And I mark my words, I don't say I dismissed somebody, but I facilitated the process for that person to be dismissed. Because many people refuse to take that responsibility. But I took that responsibility at an early age, and up to now, I meet that person and he respects me, even though I made them suffer, I made them lose their job. So that's what leadership is all about. I also learned to do more than others. So at that time, some people would perceive being given assignments as being, just somebody doesn't like you, so they must pile a lot of work to you. But I want you to turn that into a positive thing. They think they are punishing you, but they are actually empowering you. I was lucky that the person who was giving me so many responsibilities, he had good intentions for me, and the others were sitting back and say, well, this will be done by Moses, this will be done by Moses. And I did everything, but indeed, it burns you out because it's too much work to do. So, I want to talk about this process now of overcoming the gatekeeper challenges. So I went to an institution where my application was unprofessionally excluded, completely excluded. So once the application went into the system, people found a way of removing it before I could be shortlisted. And that job advert was advertised more than 3 times until, with support from someone else, I gathered courage to go and see the then vice chancellor in that institution and say, look, I'm only asking for a favor to be brought to an interview panel. Why? Because my application is disappearing. Who is making it disappear? I won't tell you. All I want is you to bring me. And the word went around that, you see, if they pulled out my application, they would be in trouble. So I was called for an interview, but I navigated around that challenge of being excluded. But a tough interview, or an unusually tough interview, was set up. All these people mobilized each other to go and meet me in the interview, and they gave me a tough time. I've never had such an interview in my life. But I learned something that I will talk about later. I was able to succeed to actually be the appointable person despite all those tough challenges. I had prepared for that interview. I had read these people's work because I knew they would be against me. So I read their work to understand what they had been doing. So attempts were made soon after I was appointed. The first thing that happened is, instead of getting a 5-year contract, I was given a 3-year contract so that I could quickly move out of the system. But the authorities that time said, look, the way you fought in the interview, we are very confident that no one will stop you after you went for 3 years. You will get another contract, which I incidentally got. So, but there was an attempt now to dilute my statutory powers. Now I'm employed as an executive director, and now I'm being asked to go and report to a department instead of to a vice chancellor. So I fought that hard because I said, you employed me to be a director. A director cannot report to a head of department. If I had not fought, that would not have happened. And it's sad because those that came after me fell in that trap. And they found themselves having to report to somebody junior actually. So working outside area of specialization is something that I developed much earlier. So I was going to an institution which talked about fish, which talked about hydrology, which talked about engineering, and I was merely a person whose work was along the lines of public health. So I would do my public health, but I needed to appreciate what the others were doing. And it was a young institution, I needed to mentor them as well. So that gave me a good experience. I had a great team of young researchers in the supportive line manager. And all these young people, I think some of them are on this webinar, they are thriving right now because we worked together. I gave them the necessary support. They gave me the necessary support. So what did I learn? I learned to persevere and to have courage to break the gates, these gatekeeping things. I broke those gates. I learned to prepare for an interview and how to professionally defend my opinions. And mark my words, professionally, it's not about issues of emotion. I had to prepare very well to a point that the panel one time made a mistake and went into my area, and I boldly told them that the ideas you are bringing up are very old and outdated. The new concept is this. And the chairperson of the council turned to a specialist who was there and said, Professor, is this candidate saying the truth? And that professor said, indeed, that is the WHO position. And I think that was the turning point for me to get that job because I could do that. I learned how resourceful young people can be if they get good guidance. So I had a team of young people with respect for me. We worked very well, and I was blown away by what we achieved within a period of 5 years. I also learned how important it is to have a supportive line manager. It's very key. You need somebody who can support you to do things. But I realized at that time that normal working hours were not enough. So I had to create other working hours. At that time, there was a lot of paperwork that had to be done administratively. So I decided that from that time, I would wake up at 2:30 a.m. and do all my academic work during that time. During the day, half asleep, I could sign some of the papers and move on and be able to complete a day. So all I'm saying here is if you choose the route of leadership, you must know that 8 hours of work is not enough. It can never be enough. So you need to create some other time without compromising your quality sleep, because you still need a certain number of hours to sleep. And you know very well that hours cannot be compensated. You can't say, I didn't sleep for these hours, I can compensate on Saturday. It doesn't work like that. So I also now move on to how I started understanding the academic structures. I had to make tough decisions. In one of those jobs, which was very difficult to get into, I lived like a vice chancellor already at that time. I had wonderful benefits that I never got in life later. But after 5 years, in the 6th year, I made a tough decision because this post was good. It had a good package, everything. I had zero budget. My money was just for me to have. But I was not involved in the main machinery of the university. I did not sit on committees because my station was like 300, 400 kilometers away. That time we didn't have the facility of, Zoom or things like that. So most of the things, I only went to town, if I had to see my line manager or if there was a board meeting, that's all. So I knew, and at that time I'd already decided, and I wrote it in a small book, that when I grow up, I want to be a vice chancellor. That was my dream. So I made a decision to go to a new job. So I sacrificed all those benefits. And believe me, and this is true, I went for an institution where I had to look for additional money to pay rent. That's how bad it was. After getting a salary, I had to look for additional money to top up so that I could have rent before I could have food. And it was because I was told, well, where you were, you lived like a vice chancellor. Now you are just a director like my deans. You don't qualify for a house. So that was tough. But that leadership was good. He told me, if you're able to mobilize your resources, you can pay yourself an additional salary. And so for several months, I endured a below living salary. And I was eating on my previous savings. But within 3, 4, 5 months, I got grants and I earned more than everyone else who was there. Probably the only person who was earning more than me was the vice chancellor. So that was good, but it gave me an opportunity now to sit on academic board, to sit in Senate. It gave me an opportunity to chair some disciplinary hearings. I was exposed to a lot of things. I even was moved forward to actually represent Senate at Council. So that was what I had wanted. I started understanding also the diversity of university clientele, because now I was an inaugural director of research. We had to talk to people from humanities, social science, physics, medical school. So it gave me that experience. And I was building a new department, which I'm proud that that department, continued to grow, and up to now it has grown very big. But in 2008, I succumbed to the push-pull forces. Push in the sense that I didn't have a team. Things were tough. Those who were below me didn't have the same benefits as I had. And so we're not pulling together as a team. And also there were gatekeeping issues here, that this new person who has just come in, why are they doing this? Why are they being positioned like this? So it became a bit toxic. And so I had to leave, and that's 2008. But what did I learn? I learned to make tough decisions and not focus on short-term benefits. And that needed the family to be involved. I learned to work with diverse groups for the first time. I got to fully understand the university structures, and I accepted that gatekeeping was rampant in universities and figured out ways of penetrating the system. I learned the critical importance of team spirit. And that's when I adopted this thing, know when to quit principle. You must get yourself and say, this is now time for me to move. And I moved on. So what then happened is, now in a new place where you turn, and that's not diversity, I will correct that. It's adversity. That's what it's supposed to be. So turning adversity into success. So I got into a system which was a new area. Fortunately, history was repeating itself. The first institution I joined, where I said engineers and fisheries people, knowledge people, I got into this institution which was doing the same things. So it was good for me. But I got short-term contracts, 2 years. That's all, for a senior post like a deputy director. You were given 2 years. After those 2 years, you had to demonstrate that you are capable or you are kicked out. So I was able to get through all those contracts, 2, 4, and then I left when it was the 6th one. So at least I learned to live with those contracts, and I learned something from it, as I will talk about it later. So there were also what I call dual standards for same post staff. So if you were a citizen, once you joined the job, you could die on that job. But because I was a foreigner, I could be kicked out after 2 years for the same post. But it's tough things, the adversity, but it is the other side, which can actually be your success there. So that's when I actually started this business of capacitating postgraduate students. From there, I learned how to turn adversity into success. I realized the importance of experience as history repeated itself. So I realized that what I had gained in my first job was coming back, and I could actually apply it. I also realized that leading by example makes supervision for exceptional results less difficult. So I told my professors who reported to me that you shall publish 6 papers per year without fail. And I said, in addition to my administrative posts, I will also publish 6 or more. And that year I published 7. So it was easy for me to supervise them, because I said, look, I'm publishing more than you and I'm doing these other jobs. So you must, be productive. So I learned about inferiority and superiority challenges in leadership. So in one of those posts, I was literally told in the interview, in the end of the interview, that you are the best actually to get the top job, but we want to reward the other person for loyalty. So, but because we are strong, we are going to take you as their deputy, so that you can strengthen them. Because I was desperate because of those push factors, I took the job. But what happened? We were able to work together very well for 2 years. After that, it was tough because of what I called inferiority and superiority complex. So maybe the top boss was kind of feeling, inferior, to say, well, this person here seems to know more than me. And maybe I was also wrong to have some superiority complex by saying, well, that person doesn't know what they are doing, but they were my bosses. So that relationship doesn't work. And if you can avoid it, avoid it. I learned the importance of realizing that previous leaders did at least one thing right. So when you get to a post, don't think that those who came before you were just sitting. They were doing something. There must be something, one good thing or two good things. So you should build on that before you bring your own stuff. And I carried that with me. So I then went and fitted in a bigger system with a new portfolio. So this is like my second time to have an inaugural position. I already had experience in having one like that. So I learned from there that I had to work through others. This is a portfolio where it seemed very powerful from the outside, but you had no people to supervise. Everyone was supervised maybe by the dean, and you just need an office with your own PA. So that's how tough it is, but you must drive a university program. So you need to learn how to work through others. And I started, grooming myself for senior position, also ending up taking this course, which is called Executive Leadership Academy in the United States, which is a thing where people who aspire to be vice chancellors and pro-vice chancellors go to, and they are coached on what they needed to do. So I realized that, I had to play a watchdog role as a leader to look at students being treated fairly by their supervisors. Can I go also spread my responsibility beyond? So I could actually even assist some supervisors without officiating it, but making sure that their students were capacitated by the workshops that I was running all over. I did not claim, the credit for that, but for me, it was important to see that these people could go through. So also managing the transition to less influential position is something that we need to learn. After my 5 years of being a dean, I had to step down from being a dean, and that transition can actually damage you if you are not careful. So you need to manage it and say, well, I was a dean, I'm no longer a dean, and so I should find my space. But I must say I was able to do that. Then I had to make, tough decisions as well. And these were tough decisions to say, well, now it's time to move. But what did I learn? I learned also how to embrace deep cultural diversity. I talked about diversity earlier on, but I was now moving to a place which had even greater diversity. And I think that helped me a lot in how I perceive people, how I interact with people in a university and outside the university. I realized that that there are growth limitations in a foreign country. So I realized that no matter what I want to do, I can never be a vice chancellor in a foreign country. You need to be exceptionally good, which I'm not. So realizing that is very important, so that you know where the bar starts flattening. It doesn't mean that you are not good to rise up. It simply means that you are not one of us, so you can't go. And that's normal. There's nothing wrong with that. I learned about leadership vulnerability, no matter what's efforts to do good. So you can never be a leader that everyone likes. There are some people who don't like you for good reasons or for bad reasons, and you must accept that. So, but one of the key things I did was to strengthen my research portfolio. So making sure that even as I was a dean, I could feature in the top 30 researchers in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2021, 2023. Featuring, meaning that, I was part of the cream of the university as far as productivity in terms of publishing and in terms of graduating students is concerned. I learned about the power of Senate as the supreme academic body. In this institution, it was very good because the Senate operated as it's supposed to do, to challenge things. That's Senate, as you know, is the highest institution, academic committee in the university. So I was very impressed with that. And then I said I made important decisions, and that is now re-entering the previous system that I had left. So I learned about diasporan integration challenge. Some years back, I almost predicted that, with countries where people are moving out, with time, when those people want to come back, they will face serious challenges of integration, either caused by themselves or caused by those people that remain behind. So I had to adjust to a less efficient and under-resourced system. And with all due respect, it's not that it was less efficient by just being less efficient. But if it was paper-based and I was coming from an electronic system where things could be approved in 2 minutes, now things could be approved after 6 weeks or 7 weeks because somebody has to come and sign. And I really got frustrated because the speed with which I had did not match the speed with which things were happening. I started getting used to a complex committee system, which was different from what I was used to, that, certain individuals could make decisions and report to a committee later. Now we had to have a system where even for small things, you must all agree, you must sit in a committee, and knowing that some people are busy, some senior people won't be there, they will be traveling. So it meant that decisions slowed down because you had to wait for certain people to be around. So also, I had to deal with being judged. So being judged is like, when you have been all over, you tend to say, when I was there, when I did that, so you could tell that people are looking at you with certain eyes and say, hey, there he goes. He's going to talk about where he was. But it was done in good faith. When you say, when I was there, you are talking about the experience that you learned from that process, that place you went to, and not that you are trying to show off. So you have to understand that people will judge you, and sometimes you then have to be careful how you speak. Dealing with restructuring of small institutions is one of the things that I experienced, being tasked to steer a restructuring a small institution. The problem with the restructuring a small institution is you know each other. So you are restructuring with the people in mind, with the bodies, to say, where is this one going to go? Where is this one going to go? Which is very difficult because restructuring is about putting a structure in place and then trying to find out who fits there according to the credentials that they have. So that cannot happen in a small place. So getting used to a system with limited independent work. So when you work in a big system, like if I give an example of when I stayed at Johns Hopkins University, I don't think I ever met the vice chancellor. I never even met some of the deans there, but things were just happening. You were just expected to do what you would want to do. You could spread your wings as long as you know that you don't go outside the room. So there are boundaries set. Now I found myself in a system which is not like that, which is a system which is so small that, you have sometimes to get instructions. So you don't have a lot of leeway to do what you'd like to do. So in that, I got to understand the challenges of reintegration. I learned how to perform under difficult circumstances. And I understood that politics plays a key role in leadership survival. So the higher you go, the more political it becomes. And this is across the region especially in Africa, that it stops to be about what you know, but it's about what you know plus the other things. So it's important to understand that so that you don't get disappointed sometimes. I learned that integrity is a key leadership quality that must never be compromised. And I need to emphasize that, you should uphold your integrity as you move on to your journey. But I enjoyed serving my country and having the freedom and courage to claim the citizen cake, which is what I failed to do in foreign countries. So in my country, I'll say, this is my country, and I will claim a cake, a piece of cake. So that's the advantage of coming back and taking responsibility to your country. So I want to say, throughout that journey that you take, you must understand that you have to beef up your portfolio of soft skills. So this slide shows you, it's a busy slide with a lot of certificates that are there. Some couldn't fit, but at a very early age, in the 90s, I went, to some course for middle managers, to be trained on how to behave in such institutions. I talked about already the Executive Leadership Academy. I also, had a chance to go to University Administration Support Program, research program, which is about university administration, and also, IT governance in training. So it's a lot of administrative short courses, but I never lost sight of my research because I also continued, as you can see in the top, in year 2009, I was the best researcher at the University of Botswana. And then I moved on to the other university, UKZN, and I continued to excel. So that mix of the soft, skills as well as your research is very important. So let me now summarize, what I've been talking about here as we wind down. So these are key points to consider as you rise to the top of leadership. CVs are not made in retrospect. So if you want to be a leader and you decide you want to be a leader today, you must start building your portfolio now. Because 10 years later, you can't then say, I wish I had been a course coordinator or an administrator or a head of department. It's something that you plan prospectively and you have a tick box starting now to say that's what I want to do. So also this one here, let me just see what it's saying here. So you decide actually on the route that you want to take in your career path at a very early age. So my slides have kind of pause here. Okay. So there I'm saying avoid something that I call monkey see, monkey do situation. So get exposure. So on my journey, I said I worked in 6 institutions in 3 countries. I was able to get over the problem of monkey see, monkey do. That's why I was saying when I was in, that's very important because you don't want to do all your degrees in one university, in one city where you did your primary and your secondary school. And then you come back to be a dean in that same university. You need exposure from somewhere. And it's not that I'm encouraging people to leave, to abandon their jobs, but it is very important, even when you finish your PhD, to go and do a postdoc somewhere else, where they are completely new people, and then you come back. You should learn to do more than normal. I've already talked about that. You create extra time for your work. So you create time to balance academia and leadership. So avoid taking senior leadership role under a less strong leader than yourself. I already talked about that. I experienced that, and it's not something that I would like to do. Balance loyalty with integrity. So what that means is loyalty is very important, but don't let that L become too big compared to your integrity. You should balance the two. Yes, you must be loyal to your bosses, but you must have your integrity. You must be who you are. That's what I'm saying. But most of the time, some people then become, loyal and prefer to do it that way. So I'll talk about that, I think, in the next bullet there. Surround yourself with strong, disruptive thinkers. Loyalists are neither harmful nor value adding. These people don't take you anywhere. They are just people who sit there and they listen very carefully what you have said and they say, as he has said. So they are not going to help you, and I would encourage that. It's very difficult in many systems.
Yeah.
Disruptive thinkers are not liked,
Yeah.
but those are my best people. Very difficult people, but very productive. I just need to learn how to manage them and move on. Then you have got some people who are just not difficult, but they are very productive. Those you just need to encourage them. But you have this group which is very difficult and also very unproductive. That's where you must become a leader and facilitate their departure if you can't help them. But you have that last group of loyalists. Those ones, they are just there. They don't help you to do better, and they don't usually harm you, but they harm you indirectly because they will let you do wrong things and they will just keep quiet. So while connections are important, your genuine worthiness is paramount. So I said politics as you go up becomes important. Yes, those connections are good. You cannot ignore them, who you know, for you to be positioned. But it is your worthiness that is important. So you must be seen to be a good academic, a good research, a solid person with soft skills and good research and good teaching. And then you need some connection to, which is like a lubricant. But now, if you are weak in all those areas, and then your connections promote you to a high level, you are not likely to survive. And you must know that you are like a car that has been modified by someone.
Yeah.
When it breaks down on the road, you have to look for that particular mechanic because he knows what he did.
Yeah.
So you don't want to find yourself in that situation. Do not overstay in a place. You cannot have great ideas beyond a span of 10 years. And that's what I proved in my life, that every time, 5 years, when I moved to a new place, I went with energy, a lot of ginger, and I did great things. When you start living beyond 10 years, you are actually taking that institution sometimes backwards, or it's static, it is leveled. So as the new generation that we want to create through these webinars, we want people who will say, I'm here for 5 years, I'm going to do this thing, and I want to move on. And you move on to another place. So also be prepared for dealing with information starvation. So academics are very good at that in these institutions. You find yourself on a clean desk where you don't know what is happening, but you are supposed to know what is happening. So one way of killing you is to starve you of information. So you don't know what is happening, and you must be prepared for it. So there are ways in my life I've learned to do those things. If I'm not invited to a particular meeting, I just walk up and sit in there because I'm allowed to sit there. But I may not be the one chairing, but I'm there, so I know the information. So it's a tough thing. So also know that good leaders are rarely praised by everyone. If you find someone, if everyone likes you, there's something wrong with you. You are not a good leader.
Sure.
Yeah, so there must be some people who doubt what you do. So, like a leader in any family, you will need your family throughout your journey. That's very important. You heard me talk about going for a compromised salary. obviously it caused some problems at home, which people must understand. So again, always know when to quit. Don't be told, but don't be fired. Move on when the time comes and go somewhere else. So always remember you are an academic, and being an administrator or leader is just a job of the moment. Many academics miss this point. They become vice chancellors. When they drop from there, they cannot sit in their departments because they've lost touch with academia. So I am a professor before I'm a pro-vice chancellor or anyone else. So that's what is important to me. That other one is just a job for the day. So having said all this that I've said, please know that top leadership is sweet. Professor Makoba said that. He said, this job of a vice chancellor is very nice, try it. So I urge you to go for it. It's a good job, but it comes with its challenges. And this is where I want to end. I'm aware that I've gone over the time that we had planned for. I think, and I can be helped by team which is here to manage any questions that might be there. Maybe we can give it 5-10 minutes and see how we can do that. Is somebody looking at our chat?
Nothing.
Well, I can't see.
Please press your video so they can see, because they were asking if they can't see.
They can't.
Put your video on.
Oh, okay. Oh, my video. All right. Okay, so that was me. So if we have any, I see there are a lot of things, there's some comments there. I hope I'll be able to manage them. Are people able to unmute and talk?
Yes.
So if you have a question, please, or a comment that you want to make, just raise your hand or just go ahead and talk.
Some are saying they cannot unmute. Oh.
Then if you cannot unmute, please, can you just try to put a comment there? I hope we didn't have many people who were not seeing the slides or not hearing what I was saying. Just going through that. Okay, thank you for the kind comments. Somebody says, I'm actually talking to their life. Thank you. Right. So what I can end up saying here is that I will use the same emails that you sent to us to give you feedback, and I will appreciate if you can already suggest things that you'd like to listen to. In that email, in line with the POPIA, we will make sure that we give you the option to be left out of the email, circulation, if you think you don't want to receive any messages from us. But otherwise, we are going to be sending you messages, and we will also inform you of when the next webinar will be. And in between, when we don't have a webinar, we'll give you a link where you might be able to listen to some conversations that I'm going to have with some of the prominent people. Otherwise, with that, I really, really appreciate your coming. Yes, Dr. Mtero?
So it seems like, yeah, person that are running through quite fast.
Yeah.
One that I think I read was, it's something like this: what non-academic
skills would one need? I'm not so sure if I read. Yeah, so I'll read it out to Prof as well.
Yes, so please check for them. So I'll respond to this. One of the people in this room here said that there was a question about what non-academic skills you need. So I talked about that when I said you need soft skills along the way. So the soft skills I talk about is it's not enough to be just an academic for you to lead a university. It's not enough. Just like it is not enough to be just a medical doctor and you say you want to be the administrator of that hospital or become a permanent secretary. So you need soft skills. To me, these are short courses on management. These are issues of, like as of today, how do you apply artificial intelligence in your day-to-day business in terms of managing things? You need to upskill yourself. You also need to have skills on how actually to chair meetings. These are some things that can be very basic. How do you chair a meeting? How do you participate in a meeting? Do you understand the rules of the university beyond what applies to you? So in, let's say, Zimbabwe, there would be the act for the university, but there would also be ordinances that are there that govern how you do certain things, what roles each one has got. So you need to fully appreciate that. And I like that question because the challenge goes to the university system through probably the registrar's office to organize such sort of courses as part of talent management, so that you within your system you have actually people who are being groomed. Thank you for that question.
There are others.
Yeah.
There's another one here. Somebody said they need clarity about CVs not made in retrospect.
All right.
And there are other two questions.
So CV is not being made in retrospect. What I meant is, if you are an early career or middle career, start making your CV now. That means start doing all those soft courses that I'm talking about now. Make sure that you are productive as you climb the ladder. So what you have lost, you have already lost, but build going forward. Sometimes I've talked about how do you prepare a compelling promotion dossier. It's one of the very popular things that I talk about. So you make that dossier as you go. It's prospective. It's not in retrospect, because you will forget what you did, which was very important when you are designing your portfolio. Yes, thank you.
There's another one.
Yeah.
How do you do with information starvation?
Yes, that's a good one. Information starvation is really a big challenge. And I'm glad people have raised it. As I said earlier on, that you need to study your system. So if you are in a position of authority that allows you to sit in certain meetings as an observer, you go there as an observer because you have been excluded in there. But also, keeping your ears to the ground is very important. I didn't talk about that, but there are people who are very important in your life. It's a topic for another day. These people are called personal assistants. Personal assistants will either build you or destroy you. That's what they are. So how do they destroy you? They can destroy you because they know everything about yourself. And you cannot afford not to trust them, because they are the people who can protect you. So to answer that question of information starvation, your PA would be a friend to other PAs, and they would talk about things generally. So they may not see the documents, but they will know there's something that is happening. So it's a tough one that you must look forward to face. Apparently, I know so many universities where information starvation happens. I had a colleague in my very early jobs, which was not in a university, who spent 6 months, 7 months on a clean desk. He was not allowed in the laboratory. He was not barred from coming to work, but he read all the newspapers. He sat in there. It's to kill your spirit, kill your soul. Yes, there's another one.
There's another one. What advice can you give to those who finish their PhD late in life, pursuing a true academic route worthwhile, or are they better in the industry?
So those are people who finish late.
Yeah, finish their PhD late.
So there are people who finish late. You remember I showed you a slide where I said everyone is important in the university. So you have those that can remain as academics and that can raise to leadership in the sense that they are not general university leadership, but they are actually people that are respected and where they can get and people come to consult you. So you are not irrelevant. You are actually in there, and as far as we are concerned, we still say you are an early career, even though you are in your 50s or 60s, because you have just graduated to doctorate level.
And somebody is also asking, how do you balance your academia with family life?
Academia with family life, that's a tough one. Most academics are divorced. It is tough. It helps if you can carry your family with you. So that means if you also have a spouse who is interested, or you can make them get interested in academia, it does help. They will understand why you have to wake up at 2:30 and go and work, because they also sometimes want to do that. So that's also your children will emulate you. So that's a tough one. I see Rose has got a question. The hand is raised there, but I'm not sure whether I'm able to unmute it.
She needs to unmute from her side.
Can you unmute Rose Msesengwa and Chauna Fambirai? Apparently, yes. Rose, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Rose.
We can hear you. Go on, Rose.
Oh, okay, great. Sorry, you can't see me on camera. There's no camera button. So anyway, my question is to Prof to say there are people you know me. So there are people who are multi-talented. So if you're doing admin or program management, you be so good at it, and then you come to academia and you're still good at it. How do you sort of choose to say, should I just focus on academia or should just focus on programs and go with that? But you like both. So I think that's my dilemma at the moment, to say, should I just take one track and go for professorship, or should I continue doing both?
So I think you need to unmute someone. There will be echoes, but bear with us. I need to unmute here.
Mute your one.
Your computer.
Okay, yeah. So I think what you are the people we are talking about here. You fit very well in the graph that I said that we have people who do more and are still good at academia. So your path is actually, you can become an executive. So there are other factors, like we said, that it depends on where you are. So if you are in a foreign country, you must know the limit where the bar is going to level. But if you enjoy, administrative work, programs, running certain things, and you are also productive as a researcher, I think these are the people that I'm saying we must grow for the next generation of leaders. I hope that addresses your question, yours.
That's an interesting question here, Prof.
Uh-huh.
How do you create more working hours and at the same time make sure you get quality sleep? I also think I have that.
Right. That's a good one. How do you balance, creating more space during the night and at the same time having quality sleep, which is important for you? So I, at my age, believe that 6 hours is good time for me to sleep. So I sleep early and I wake up early. But I go beyond that. Those who follow me, I have an hour of exercises every morning. So that prepares me for the whole day. So once I, work during that morning, and I want to tell you something, 1 hour at night, especially in a university environment, is better than 4 hours during the day. Get it from me. When I work for 1 hour in the night, and then I go to work, I find that the 1 hour I spent on my own working is worth more than the 3 hours at work, where you are sitting in a boardroom waiting for someone to come for a meeting, and then you are quarreling about something that is very trivial. So that's what it is. But exercise becomes very important. You do it whichever way you want. It can be a walk, it can be, a few things that you do for 15, 20 minutes. But that helps you. At least that helps me.
Just two quick ones here. But one, it's just a comment. I suggest you write a book about your academic journey. Somebody wrote that. I suggest you write a book about your academic journey. And then the last one, commenter is, would they be getting the slides? And they were putting their emails, addresses, in case you cannot share them.
Yes, the slides are, as usual, very free, and I'll give them very freely in the soft format. They are not even going to be PDF. But this presentation is automatically going to YouTube. So you can also go and watch that at YouTube there. There was another person with the hand up. It was Chaona Fambirai. Can you unmute and talk?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Prof, and everyone on the call. Thank you for the good presentation. I had a question and I typed it in the chat box. It was answered well. I think the question was talking about some of your students like us who are professionals, but who have also chosen this PhD route, and we are in our mid-40s. And looking at the trajectory of rising up to vice chancellor, academic leadership, we have come in too late. So where do we fit in? I think you have answered it well. I think the challenge is always, well, like what Dr. Msesengwa has said, we are already doing something that we might be good at, and then we are kind of in a dilemma. Which one should I continue to pursue? I also like academics. It's interesting. And I think I'm good at it. At the same time, professionally, I'm also I like what I'm currently doing. So where do I put, my eggs in the latter part of my life? But I think with your advice and the continuous discussion, we can always find what is best for us. Thank you, Prof.
Yes, I think that's a good point, and I want to add something to what I said earlier on. That I decided, because I was an academic, I wanted to stay in my lane. But I actually think generically we need new leaders for the next generation. So I know, Chaona, let's say you are in the health sector. So you do well what you are doing, and the academia has helped you even to think better and to perform better. So I see you not necessarily joining an academic institution to become an academic, but to go in that route and be a leader and claim leadership in your ministry. So you can be a director of health services, you can be a permanent secretary. So the leadership, I was just focusing on academic institutions on the line to become a vice chancellor, but don't misunderstand me to say what I've said is only relevant for universities. I know in industry, it can even be worse than some of the things that we see in academia. So we know in industry, it's tough. I've stayed in academia for all these years because that's the only institution you can say anything and not just be fired like that. There are procedures that are followed. In the industry, one person can tell you to go home and you go home straight away. So we're looking at our governance generally, be it Ministry of Home Affairs, be it Ministry of Health, be it, Ministry of Education. We need leaders. And if you look at the structures that we have currently in that space, if you are not in academia, just look at what is in your space and you will see that you probably need better leaders in the future. Any other?
That's about it.
Okay. If there's anyone else we don't want to stay for people who might have something that they wanted to say before we close it here. Okay, I am not seeing anyone.
Oh, somebody has a question. Sorry.
Okay,
Chimbari. Sorry, Sisi. Oh, Mama. I think there's a question here. My question is, sorry, I missed it. What are the two pairs you would give someone starting out as a leader in order to persevere against the odds? Someone who's just starting out as a leader. What are the two things you will give to them as they start out?
so they're starting out. It means they are in a position of leadership.
Of leadership.
Right.
Is that correct? The person that asked.
So I think that's a very important thing. Here we are looking, it depends on where they are. That could be a dean, that could be a head of department. I think one of the things that I would say is know that you should work with a team. Yes.
Sorry, Prof. Yeah. She's clarifying it. Starting as a consultant and dealing with leading junior doctors, as well standing out as a leader within that field.
Okay.
As a consultant.
So that's a consultant as a doctor.
As a doctor.
Yeah. So I think that's leadership. The rules of leadership apply. Know that you can't make it on your own. You need a team. So consultation is very important because you perform through others and not through yourself. So I think that's one key thing that you need to do. Another key thing is do more than others. So you have to be on top of the game if you are a leader. Otherwise, you are just the same like anyone else. It's just like in a soccer pitch. They become captains because, they are probably doing better than others in terms of their character, in terms of their physique and so on. So I think you need to make sure that you stand out as somebody who has those leadership qualities and also do the soft things that I talked about. They are very important. Just communication, working on your emotional intelligence is very important. I hope that addresses that point. Okay. So I'm looking around. I don't want people to start moving out unceremoniously before I thank them. I want to thank all of you for coming for this webinar. It tells me that the subject matter we're talking about is very important and it's one that touches many people. So I'm hoping that we will be able to sustain this and bring more interesting things. I promise you, in future sessions, it's not just going to be about me and me telling you about my story. It's going to be about me facilitating the whole process to make sure that we bring other people who are more experienced than myself, people who add value to what I've already said. But most important, we also want those consultants that talked about, those people that said, I'm not necessarily in an academia, to come forth and propose that they would like to be featured, and we will indeed feature you in future sessions. So thank you very much and have a good day. I know people are in different time zones. I really thank you. I also want to thank my team here, Nombu. So thank you very much for insisting that, this had to be physical and virtual, and for organizing all the things. Our IT guys, thank you very much for making sure that this talk is going to YouTube. I want to thank the College of Health Science for their kindness. Professor Nama may not be in, but this would not have taken place without a blessing. So thank you very much. I hope the next sessions you will equally enjoy them. Have a good day. Okay, I'm going out.